Hello my friends. If you've ever played the original Age of Mythology, you probably know that the game had cheats you could write in the chat, after which some really cool things could happen. Well, I'm happy to inform you that not only does Retold have these cheats as well, but it also gave us a bunch of new ones, some of which are just crazy. So let's get through all of them and make a tier list for them while we're at it. I'm gonna rate them by how powerful they are, but also how unique and creative the developers got with them. Also, we'll start with the old ones and move on to the new ones in the second part of the video. So let's begin. I guess we'll start with the bottom of the list. First up is Junk Food Night, which gives you 1000 food. And yes, it is as unamusing as it sounds. D tier. The next one, however, offers a bit more excitement. Next up is Pandora's Box, which gives you 4 random god powers. In the original, if you wanted a specific god power and you needed one, this was the only way of getting it, and it would be based pure on RNG. And the chances of getting that specific power you wanted was like 1 in 9 or maybe 1 in 12, I'm not sure anymore, but it was just like very low. But I remember having to type this in multiple times to get something I wanted, so yeah. It's a bit annoying, but also you get that nice dopamine hit when you get something you wanted. So I guess for the dopamine reason, I'm gonna give it a B. Next up we have Bark 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 Bark. Yeah, it was 5 barks. May I introduce you to Bella, the destroyer of furniture. That's literally what it says in the description. And she is actually pretty powerful. Plus her stats are very much on par with what it says in the description. She's the destroyer of furniture, and then they gave her a huge crush damage stat, which obliterates buildings. Oh, I love Bella. She's such a cute doggo. And cute doggos get ace. Always. Next up, Tinfoil Hat. This is one of the most fun cheats in the game. So it transfers the ownership of all buildings and units on the field to a random player, which, you might have guessed it, can cause complete chaos. And I'm here for it. This is so much fun to use. S tier. Next up, we have Red Tide, which instantly destroys all fish on the map. This one isn't too powerful or exciting, but let me tell you this. The fish now have locusts above them, which is so cool. The developers really put some effort into this one, even though it's not too exciting. And for that reason, it's not gonna be a D, it's gonna be a C. Next up is Consider the Internet, which instantly slows down your game speed. Okay, that was horrible. Also not too exciting, but it's fun to see units fight in slow motion, so I'm gonna give it a C. Next up is WUV WOO, aka the Flying Hippo. And the hippo is cute and fun to play around and stuff, but its stats are just miserable. It can't kill anyone, so, you know, it's a fun unit, but that's all it is, a fun unit. And for that reason, I cannot give him more than a B. Sorry, Hippo, although you are a cutie. Next up is Wrath of the Gods, which gives you an infinite number of earthquakes, tornadoes, meteors, and lightning storms. This is the cheat used to obliterate everything. Like, if you have a huge enemy base that you have to face, you use this one and you just delete it from existence. You just show that base who's the boss and just throw them into the apocalypse. S tier. So fun to use. Next up, the cheat that spawns all heroes from the base campaign. And you get a bunch of them, and they are really strong. And it's fun to have a bunch of heroes on your side. So I guess because of that, we can give it an A. Next up, I Want Them Monkeys, which gives you 100 of Set's monkeys. And that's it. They are really weak, don't really serve a purpose. However, you do get 100 monkeys, so how could I give that a D? I'm gonna have to give it a C. Next up, Divine Intervention. This one is perfect in combo with Pandora's Box. You got that ability that you wanted, and you used it. What will you do if you want to use it again? Write Pandora's Box 10 more times and hope you get it again? No, you write this one and recharge the ability, which has this one use, and that's it. However, because of this one use, I'm gonna give it a C. Next up, Lay of the Land. This one's a classic. It reveals the whole map. However, it doesn't eliminate the fog of war, so you can't see any units on it, just buildings and relics and resources and stuff. So as you might have guessed it, I'm not really a fan. However, in the original, if you wanted to explore how many units the enemy has and stuff like that, the perfect combo was Lay of the Land, and then you would use a cheat that spawns a really fast scouting unit like the hippo. And then you would scout a map basically. Yeah, the good old days. Thank God those are over. And you will soon see why. But in reminiscence of the good old days, I'm gonna give it a B. Next up, Mr. Monday, which increases the power of the enemy AI. And that's all it does. You know, I'm not really a masochist, but there are people who actually use this, who are masochists, and who love the pain, and because of those people, I'm not gonna give it a D, I'm gonna give it a C. Next up, the reset button. This one's so fun. Everything that is not a town center or a natural resource gets killed, or rather reset. Buildings get deconstructed, and this looks so cool. You know, and at the end of the spell, you just get left with 2 town centers or 3 on the map, and that's it. You have to start from the beginning. I mean, it's cool. It's cool. A really fun button. The deconstruct animation on like dozens of buildings and stuff, it looks so much fun to watch, so I have to give it an S. Next up, in Darkest Night. This one changes the time of day on certain missions, which is not particularly useful for like anything, because most of the missions are in the daytime, and in the daytime you see the best, but you can change the Trojan Horse mission from nighttime to daytime, which is pretty fun, but that's like the only thing where it's fun, and this is where the fun stops, so I'm gonna give it a D. Next up is Set Ascendant, which gives you control of every wild animal on the map. You can have some fun with that one, but it's nothing to write home about. So for that reason, I'm gonna give it a C. Next up, one of my favorite abilities in the game, Wrath of Cyclone, which turns every single unit into a Titan. How awesome is that? Like, there's not much else to say really, except the fact that the game handles the pressure really well of having like a couple of 100 Titans in the game at the same time. But other than that, it's just amazing. And for that reason, because it's one of the most fun abilities in the game, I'm gonna give it an S. Next up, Trojan Horse for Sale, which gives you 1000 wood. Same as the 1000 food one, it's really not that exciting, so I'm gonna give it a D. Next up, TITANOMACHY, which spawns a Titan, which is pretty cool. It's not too exciting, but it's cool to have a cheat that spawns a Titan, so I guess for that reason and that reason only, I'm gonna give it a B. Next up, Engineered Grain, which instantly fattens all animals. This is a really boring one actually. I admire the creativity, but it is so boring that I can't even award the creativity, and I have to give it a D. Sorry. Next up, Atlantis Reborn, which gives you access to all heroes from the Atlantean campaign. Unfortunately, that is only 4 of them, so it's not even remotely as powerful or as fun as spawning the original campaign heroes, so for that reason, I'm gonna have to give it a lower tier than that one, so this one's going in B. Next up, another cheat that gives you 1000 resources. This one is ATM of Erebus, and it gives you 1000 gold. Again, same as the other ones, D. Next up, BARKBARKBARK. This is also one of the more fun ones. It's like meteor power, but you don't get meteors, you get exploding chicken. And the exploding chickens can actually mess with the terrain, so they can completely change it up, which is just so much fun. Yeah man, exploding chickens. How could I not give that an S? Next up, Tines of Power, which spawns a Forkboy. Look, I'm not a fan of the Forkboy. I think literally every other spawnable unit is more fun than this one. However, the model looks so great. I'm so obsessed with that guy. And because of that, although I'm not a fan of him or his combat prowess, I'm gonna give it a B. Next up, Xenos Paradox, which in this game I think is the same as Pandora's Box. In the original, this one says you can get powers from all 5 factions. Or maybe 4 factions, I don't know. However, in this one, I think you get all factions, just like Pandora's Box, so I think it's the same ability. And since it's the same ability, I'm gonna give it the same rating, B. Next up, Uncertainty and Doubt. This is the polar opposite of Lay of the Land, so this one hides everything on the map. And even though Lay of the Land has its uses, this one not really, no. I mean, it's cool to have the option, but why the hell would you want to hide the map, you know what I mean? So for that reason, I'm gonna give it a D. Next up, Fear the Forage, which gives you a power that turns berry bushes into walking berry bushes. And those walking berry bushes, they are so weak and boring and annoying. And again, this is an ability where I really appreciate the creativity, but I really hate it, so I'm gonna give it a D tier. Next up, Gotenheim. We had a power that turns all units into Titans. Well, this one turns all units into goats, which is way more underwhelming, however, it's still very much fun. Although I don't think this one is as fun as turning everyone into the Titan, I still think it deserves some merit and credit, so I'm gonna give it an A. Next up, Thrill of Victory, which lets you win the game. That's it. There's nothing else to talk about here. This one is not too exciting, but winning is fun, so I'm gonna give it a B. Next up, Mount Olympus, which gives you 1000 favor, and you already know where this one's going, D tier. Next up, Lead Super Hexor. This one is so difficult to remember because you never really know which one of the letters are replaced with numbers. That being said, this one lets you insta-build everything, plus you mine resources much quicker than usual, which is pretty cool actually. And yeah, this one is so handy to have that I'm gonna have to give it an A. Next up, let's go. Now. This one increases the game speed by 2, so this one has a bit more utility than the slow time one. That's why I'm not gonna give it a C like that one, I'm gonna give it a B instead. Next up, Canada, oh Canada. This is one of the most famous cheats in the game. You get a laser bear, and the laser bear is so OP, man, and it's so fast, I love it. In the original, I used to scout the map with this one all the time. It actually has a really strong attack against basically anything that is not a building. If it had an attack that is strong against building, it would have been an S tier. Since it doesn't, since it can destroy anything but a building, I'm gonna give it an A tier. Next up, channel surfing. Now this one lets you skip to the next scenario in the campaign, which I'm not sure how it differs from the insta-victory one, if someone in the comment section can help me with this one. However, well, since it basically does the same thing, I'm gonna give it the same tier. B. And now we move to the new cheats. First up, Greek to me, which is basically Pandora's box, but for Greek powers. Which means if you're looking for a specific Greek power, you use this one instead of writing 5 or 10 times Pandora's box. However, since there are so few powers available, it's really not worth it that much, so I guess if you're looking for a specific Greek power, it's great, but for anything else, use Pandora's box. C. Next up, Clear Skies. Now this one reveals the whole map and removes the fog of war, so now you don't have to have a laser bear scout, and you don't have to write a lay of the land. You just write this one and you can see everything, which is really, really cool. And also, I have no idea why the developers didn't add something like this in the original, but okay. And since it's more useful than Lay of the Land, I'm gonna give it a tier higher than it, so A tier. Next up, Peace Cards. This one spawns Osiris, the one from the campaign that chain lightnings everything into submission. And this guy is a really, really big boy, and it's so much fun to chain lightning everything. He really makes you feel like a real god, you know? And because you get the power to feel like a real god, I'm gonna have to give it an S tier. Next up, In Denial, like in denial. It took me like 2 minutes to figure this out though. This one gives you random Egyptian powers, so it's basically the same as the Greek one, so it's getting the same tier. Next up, STONKS. Now this one gives you not 1,000 but 10,000 of every resource, not just one. And for that reason, because it's so much more OP than that one, I'm gonna have to give it a tier higher than the resource ones, so it's getting a C tier. Next up, Chrono. This one spawns Chronos, and this guy, first of all, this guy is huge. And not only is he huge, he looks so much better and more powerful than in the campaign. Which is like, I don't know why they didn't put this guy in the campaign, gonna be honest. However, they didn't, and it is what it is. However, this guy has insane stats, looks so good, again makes you feel like a literal god. And that kind of behavior has to be rewarded, so this one's also getting an S. Next up, all your base are belong to us. This one spawns an actual UFO, and man, that UFO is so powerful. My god. It has like chain lasers or whatever, but man, it obliterates everything it touches. And the design of this unit is actually really good, and it's so much fun to use. However, I will not be giving it an S. And when we get to the end, you will understand why. For now, it's gonna have to be an A. Next up, of Norse Knot. Another one that gives you 4 random powers, this time it's Norse powers. But it's going into the same tier as the others, so C. Next up, Footy, which gives you an actual ball you can kick around. And a giant, but whatever. A giant that can kick the ball, I guess, but everyone can. And the ball actually counts as a relic, so you can actually garrison it to the temple, which is like a really fun fact. This one isn't too exciting, but I'm pretty sure it took a lot of hours of work to make sure this ball can be kicked, so I have to reward the developers for that. So I'm gonna give it a B tier. Next up, Big Promo. This one spawns a Prometheus Titan. Again, this one is huge in size. However, it does not feel as powerful as Kronos. It does spawn little Prometheans, which is cool, but I cannot give it an S tier. Sorry, Big Promo, you're getting an A. Next up, Atlantis, which gives you 4 random Atlantean powers. Again, you know where this one's going, into C tier. Next up, Mother Nature, which spawns a Gaia, who is also very big as the other titans, however she isn't nearly as powerful. That being said, she is still a huge titan, so I can't put her below A tier. So Prometheus, you're gonna have company. Female company. And we have arrived at the last one. Once more, I have saved the best for last. This cheat's name is DEVASD. So listen to this. You can see the whole map, you can insta-build and research, you get 10,000 of all resources, And you get 3 UFOs spawned at your town center. And there are also other effects like increased scout speed, but yeah, these are the 4 most important ones. Like, this is the ultimate cheat in Age of Mythology. And I'm here for it. This one is amazing. And for something like that, how do I not give something like that an S tier? And that's it. They're quite evenly distributed. I'm happy with that. Well, I've placed the cheats randomly so it will be more exciting to rate them, but I will write them down and divide them by category after the video ends. You are very welcome. Thank you for watching, and I guess I will see you in the next challenge. Peace!